Does being religious mean being against science? Such an idea would have surprised the precursors and pioneers of modern science. Many of them were clergy, theologians, or at very least believers in God. For instance, John Philoponus, who lived in the 6th century, was a theologian who contributed to scientific theories of light and motion. He also scandalized intellectuals in his day by arguing that the universe can't be everlastingly old. It must have had a beginning. This was a claim that was finally confirmed by scientists 14 centuries later. In the 12th century, Hildegard of Bingen recorded careful observations of the natural world in the service of her concern with medicine. She was posthumously recognized as a doctor of the Catholic Church by the Pope in 2012, one of only 4 women to receive that high honor. At the time of the birth of modern science in the 16th through 18th centuries, the Catholic Nicholas Copernicus and the Protestant Johannes Kepler laid the foundations for the heliocentric model of the universe. That's the idea that the Earth goes around the sun instead of vice versa. Robert Boyle became the father of modern chemistry. Isaac Newton discovered gravity and developed a highly influential model of the workings of the universe. He and his contemporary, Gottfried Leibniz, both independently invented calculus, and Leibniz also developed important theories of physics that anticipated some of Einstein's contributions in the 20th century. Blaise Pascal contributed to computer science, probability theory, and the study of pressure and vacuums. Both Leibniz and Pascal also came up with influential arguments for the existence of God. Leibniz argued that the explanation for the existence of the universe lies outside of itself, and that explanation is God. Pascal formulated his famous wager that says it's a safer bet to live as if God exists than to live as if God doesn't. Both these arguments are still in use today. In the 19th century, Friar Gregor Mendel's experiments kicked off genetic science, while Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell contributed to electromagnetic theory. In the 20th century, the priest Georges Lemaitre took Einstein's theories and used them to develop the Big Bang theory. Yes, that's right. The Big Bang theory was developed by a Christian who believed that God was behind the origin of the universe. The theory was only given the name Big Bang as a nickname by one of its opponents as a way to make fun of it. In the same century, the nun, Mary Kenneth Keller, became one of the first 2 people in the USA to receive a doctorate in computer science and helped develop the computer language called BASIC. Another nun, Miriam Michael Stimson, did cutting-edge research on DNA. In our own day, evangelical Christian Francis Collins has headed up the Human Genome Project and later the National Institutes of Health. Royal astronomer and Methodist theologian David Wilkinson has written on the relationship of faith and science, and so has evangelical scholar Alistair McGrath, who has doctorates in both molecular biophysics and theology. The names I've just mentioned are only some of the many believers who've been involved in science. So where did we get the idea that faith and science are incompatible, or that there's some kind of everlasting war between them? That's a meme invented in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Like a lot of memes, it oversimplifies and distorts the truth. For example, take the infamous case of Galileo. The story we all think we know goes like this. Galileo was a brave scientist who was put on trial by the Inquisition for contradicting Scripture by claiming that the earth goes around the sun. The reality is more complicated. For one thing, the heliocentric model of the universe that Galileo promoted actually went against the scientific consensus of the day. For another, the whole controversy was about the personality clash between Galileo and the Pope as much as it was about science. The Pope had been supportive of Galileo until Galileo publicly made fun of him as a simpleton. Instead of viewing religion and science as opposing sides on a battlefield, how should we think about the relationship between them? It's helpful to understand the difference between science and scientism. Scientism is the belief that science is the only way to know anything for sure, that science can tell us everything that's possible to know about reality, and that science can supply all the answers, not only about what's real, but also about how we should live. Scientism overestimates what science can do. For instance, science can tell us how to split the atom, but science can't tell us whether we should build atomic bombs or nuclear power plants, or both, or neither. Science can describe what and how things are in the physical world, but any truly meaningful answer to why we in the world are here will go beyond science into philosophy and theology. Science can create models of how the laws of nature usually operate, but there will always be anomalies, and religious believers call some of these anomalies miracles. If scientism is a temptation for scientists to avoid, the opposite danger is for religious believers to be closed off to the legitimate role that science can play in helping us to discover truth. Sometimes the truths that science uncovers will mean that we need to revise our interpretation of Scripture, like when ancient Jews and Christians came to accept that the earth is round, not flat, and when early modern believers switched from the view that the sun goes around the earth to the opposite view. But if God indeed exists and is the creator of the universe, then all true science is simply exploring what God has created, and that should enrich our faith in God, not threaten it.
Thank you for watching this video. We at Seedbed are sowing for a great awakening. We gather, connect, and resource the people of God. If you would like to join us on this journey, like and subscribe so you can get all the updates and videos. And also take a look at www.seedbed.com for more information on all of our resources.